falling asleep in the locker room. I think he did the night before he died, but and they get into his feud with the Hart, or his introduction into the Hart Foundation, which again, shame they couldn't have interviewed any of them for that. You know. It's, I don't know, he just has a sad ending. You know, he wasn't going to be the same after that wreck. He would go to a show. He would unplug from the IVs that he had. He'd go to the show, do his match, and then come back home and get put back on the IV. Like, how do you do that? I don't get it. Get into the Goldust feud. And they do a match. They get his real life wife, Marlena, or Terry Reynolds, Goldust's wife at this point, involved. And there is history there because her and Brian used to date back when they were both in WCW. And, you know, Goldust talks about, yeah, there was a little tension there, but it's business. I had to do it. But basically they do a match, and Brian's like, okay, if you win, well, I get Marlena if I win, I get Marlena for 30 days. Personal assistant. And if Goldust won, Brian Pillman would leave, and then of course they do the match, and Pillman wins. So, and then they talk about him doing the match too, where he faced Goldust, and he said if he lost, he would wear a dress. And I think about all the stipulation matches on that SummerSlam card with all the Hart Foundation members, and Brian's the only one that frickin' went through with his stipulation. He lost to Goldust, and then he came out on Raw the next night wearing a dress. Oh wow. Then they get into his death. Well, first they also get into his broadcasting career. He was on commentary for a little bit, and he just didn't want to do it. You know, they would give him all these things to do, while he was rehabbing. They did this for CM Punk too for a month or two when he was injured, but they give him this commentary gig, and he just doesn't want to do it. I'm like, no, I want to wrestle. I got this. Like, Brian, no, you can't. And he would just lie and be like, oh, yeah, I'm fine, and just shrug it off. Which, I mean, obviously he wasn't. He wouldn't have been taking all that medication. I mean, there was nothing recreational in the system. He was just taking medication, and he took too much probably. On top of that, he had a genetic heart disease that no one caught until he died. They get into his death and how they found out, and police having to go to Brian's house and tell Melanie that her husband was deceased. And then they do that freaking interview on Raw, which they probably shouldn't have done. Say what you want about Melanie Pillman, but Melanie, that shouldn't have even been, that should have just been a tribute show to Brian. You didn't have to do that interview after she sitting there with 5 kids with no father. They just lost their dad. Why Vince McMahon would have done that, I had no idea. But, you know. overall, it was a good DVD. That's a good DVD. This easily could have been a 3-disc set. You could have had documentary and extras on the first disc, matches on the second disc, and maybe promos or whatnot, and interview segments on the third disc. That's how you could have done this. Do it like you did the Stone Cold DVD. Yeah, and maybe not 4 discs, but documentary portion, couple matches or segments on the first disc, matches on the second disc, and promos and interviews on the third disc. This could have easily been a 3-disc set. If they ever make like a best of Brian Pillman DVD, like if they ever bring back DVDs, which probably won't ever happen, I don't know, maybe Triple H, I don't know if he has any say in that or not, maybe, but if they ever come back with DVDs, they should make a best of Brian Pillman DVD. Not the documentary, but like just like they did the match compilation sets, like the Eddie Guerrero one they did in 2008, like that. Or like the Jake Roberts DVD where they just have like matches and segments on the second disc. Overall, Brian Pillman's very underrated. I think if it hadn't been for that freaking Humvee wreck, he would probably have feuded with Stone Cold for the title, and we probably wouldn't have got McMahon and Austin when we did, though. Maybe we would have gotten it, but like just later. I like that Brian Pillman Jr. is wrestling now. I wish they would feature him more on AEW. Tony Khan, if you're listening, please consider. Like, I know you got your hands full with the CM Punk situation and whatnot, but please. Brian Pillman Jr. needs a little bit more of a push. He needs to be recognized, and I want him to do good. I didn't grow up watching Brian Pillman's matches. He was already gone before I came along, but let's put his son in the spotlight. Give him some more TV time, please. I don't know, maybe we'll see him in WWE. He's already wearing the chain jacket and the vest and stuff like his dad did, so, he's got the mullet. Yeah, Brian Pillman is very underrated. And he should be in the Hall of Fame. He should have went in years ago. But, I guess they refuse to look at the fact that he died of a heart attack. I mean, like, it's okay to mention that. Like, no one's invincible. I guess his dad died really young. But, yeah. We lost Melanie Pillman earlier this year in June. So, and there Brian Jr. is, and Brittany and Danielle and all them. All of his kids are now without both of their parents. Say what you want about Melanie. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but like, she just came off as kind of, I don't know, she had a lot of issues going on. I'll leave it at that. I have too much respect for Brian, and I'm not going to bash his wife. Although I will say that she should have done better for his kids after he died. Like, I understand you're grieving, but you could have done better for them. But that Bad Blood pay-per-view that he died at was also the debut of Kane. We've seen Kane do a lot in WWE. We've seen him unmasked, we've seen him win the tag team titles. I like Kane. Kane's underrated too. he creeped me out as a kid, which was his job, you know? If you're not doing your job, you're not doing it good enough, apparently, but Kane did it. And Paul Bearer. And Undertaker a little bit. But, you know, Taker and Shawn had the first ever Hell in a Cell match at that show. Bryan was supposed to face Mick Foley, and they were going to do the ending of the Goldust storyline, and that never happened because of what happened to Bryan. His career wasn't all that long, really. I mean, it was about 10 years? 7 or 8 years? I don't know, but... And it wasn't that long, but he made an impact. You know, I always put Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and CM Punk on my top 2 talkers in wrestling. Well, I'm putting Brian Pillman in that category. He just had good promos. And like Jim Cornette said on the Dark Side of the Ring episode, I think all those throat surgeries, what that did was make him later in life want to always be talking, always wanting to use his voice. And that's where the raspy voice came in with the throat surgeries. And, you know, wish I could have seen Brian. Wish I could have met him too. So that's really all I have for the Brian Pillman. If I have any last thoughts, I will surely share you with them in future videos. Oh, matches for the Brian Pillman DVD. I'm just gonna name the matches on disc 2 because I don't. We have a. I'm just gonna name the matches I've seen on here. War Games match between Sting, Brian Pillman, and the Steiners taking on the Four Horsemen. Brian Pillman versus Jushin Liger. Brian Pillman versus Ricky Morton for the not the cruiserweight, but the light heavyweight title. Johnny Gunn and Z-Man versus Brian Pillman and Barry Windham, I think. I'm just naming these matches off the top of my head, so if I missay something, I apologize. Hollywood Blondes and Shane Douglas and Ricky Steamboat for the WCW tag titles. I think it was Dustin Rhodes, Sting, and Brian Pillman Jr. versus... Or not Brian Pillman Jr. Jeez, Flying Brian Pillman versus Stunning Steve, Ravishing Rick Rude, and someone else. I don't remember who else is in this match. Dean Malenko versus Brian Pillman. Eddie Guerrero versus Brian Pillman. Clash of the Champions. Brian Pillman versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Pillman versus... Oh, no, it's the Heart Foundation versus Stone Cold, Ken Shamrock, Legion of Doom, and Goldust. 6 out of the 10 men in that match are dead now. It's sad. Yeah, Brian Pillman versus Goldust at Ground Zero 97. And a bonus match between Brian Pillman and Jushin Liger for the light heavyweight title. So that's all the matches I really know. If I misnamed anything, like I said, I'll correct it in a future video. But, yeah. So that's my tribute to Brian Pillman. Loose Cannon. Flying Brian. One of the best ever. Had a short career, but made a lot of impact in a short amount of time. That Hell in a Cell match between Taker and Shawn was great. Debut of Kane at the end was easily in my top 3. I'm gonna go Nexus' third debut of all time. Jericho and then Kane. My top 3 debuts. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about the life and career of Brian Pillman. I wish he would have been able to work with Stone Cold for the title. I think that would have been great. Maybe him and Shawn. But, things happen, so. Unfortunately, he died way too young. Died way too soon. Rest in peace, Brian. I loved your work. Yeah. So I'll see you guys maybe in a little bit if this uploads in time before AEW. I'll come up and do a quick unboxing or unveiling of something TNA related. Let's just say that. If this uploads in time. So I better get off of here and upload this onto YouTube. So as always, like and subscribe if you like what you see. Share it. Like the video. And if comments are enabled, please comment. Thank you. Peace.